A Take-Two football guide, the rise and rise of Daniel James. Daniel James, current Leeds number 7, a Welsh international, 27 years old, born and raised in Hull, former Man United and Swansea player and now plying his trade on the wing at Leeds United. But there is so much more to the Dan James story. Let's take it back to January 31st, 2019. Deadline day, 31st of January 2019. Dan James was Marcelo Bielsa's big target. A fee of 10 million was agreed between Leeds and Swansea. Personal terms were agreed and the medical was completed at Leeds by the player. Whilst Daniel James was conducting media interviews, photo shoots and contract signings, behind the scenes what was unfolding was chaos. A disagreement between Swansea owners and chairman escalated and led to the deal falling through. Despite Leeds' best efforts trying to extend the deadline, the calls weren't answered from the Swansea owners or board. As the window closed, Dan James was left at Ellen Road, but would remain a Swansea player. Fast forward 6 months to the 6th of June 2019, and rather than Dan James being sold to Leeds, he sold to their rivals across the Pennines, Manchester United.
Yeah, it's surreal really, to be part of this massive club. As a kid, I think everyone grows up saying I want to play for Manchester United, and here I am today saying that. I'd say I'm quite a direct player, quite a pacey player.
20th of December 2020, and Dan James scores against Leeds in a 6-2 win for Man United. In 2025, Leeds fans may love Daniel James, but this wasn't always the case.
You're too shit! You're too shit! You're too shit to play for Leeds! You're too shit to play!
31st of August 2021, 2.5 years after the initial attempt to sign Dan James fell through.
I don't think many people here at Leeds United saw this deal coming over the weekend, but when it was made clear to them that Dan James would be available for transfer, they moved very quickly yesterday. A £25 million fee was agreed late last night. This is a signing that Marcelo Bielsa has wanted for some time. 2.5 years ago, Dan James was here at Elland Road on transfer deadline day in the dying moments, waiting on a deal from Swansea to go through. Leeds had done everything on their part. He'd had his medical. He'd even posed for photographs with the Leeds United shirt, but it fell apart at the Swansea end, and Dan James didn't get his dream move.
Leeds finally secured their player.
I don't know what's happening in the future now. With him, with us, after this situation, nobody wins.
Dan James moves from Manchester United to Leeds United for a reported 25 million.
Looking at the pitch behind you, Elland Road, it's obviously some place. How excited are you getting out there in front of the Leeds faithful and showing them finally what you can do?
Yeah, more than looking forward to it. It's been, my mind last couple of days when I knew this was going through, and I think the last time I come here was with Swansea 2 weeks after I didn't end up signing, and yeah, I got a loud roar from the crowd then, and that's when I wasn't playing from. So yeah, I'm looking forward to now I am.
And it was all plain sailing from there. Well, not quite.
Reaching us, Dan James. This has been a fascinating one, hasn't it? It looks like Fulham have won the race to sign him. He's having a medical season-long loan deal, now not dependent on whether or not Leeds get anyone in. So it looks like Dan James to Fulham is happening.
September the 1st, 2022, and Dan James heads out on loan, a season-long loan, to Fulham.
It came to the Dan James situation. This was a collective decision and one that I totally support. And from a technical perspective, the concern was, the thought process was, is Dan going to get enough minutes that he wanted to help him in his career and where we were at, and then what it was going to mean for him in his preparation for the World Cup. And so then the decision was made to consider moving him, and then when we found the right situation for everybody, we decided to move forward on it.
Maybe it just wasn't meant to be.
Yes, it did. It's just because I've been here all day and everything's done.
Maybe Bielsa saw something in Dan James that we were never going to see at Leeds United.
The number you have dialed. Firpo curls a lovely ball in, and Dan James arrives!
In the 2024-2025 season, just 2 years later, and Dan James is now undroppable. He is a pivotal cog in Daniel Farke's system, and he is having the season of his life.
He's a key player for us and really already in the leadership group of our team. His influence is easy to see. You just have to have a look on his end products, goals, assists, his top-class performances over the last months. I'm pretty happy with this, but all credit goes to him because we just can bring him close to the door, and it's up to the player to step through, and he has to grab this with both hands.
There's been times in my career where I've definitely been down, and it's hard when you're not playing. You do fall out in love with football. You kind of lose yourself as a person on and off the pitch, and it's kind of like finding yourself again, and I feel like last season that I really did that. The manager put his arm around me at the start of last season. You know, we both had the same, aspects of where I wanted to be. I wanted to obviously stay and, really pushing on from then.
Of course, the potential was over there, but the big price tag is sometimes always come along with big pressure and big expectations, and perhaps then you're judged a bit too harshly sometimes. And yeah, these players also need confidence and rhythm in order to develop and to grow. And yeah, also sometimes not just an arm around the shoulder, but also in the right moment, the right hint.
The way he wants to play suits me perfectly, and we've just got to take that experience from the titles that he's won.
Once you see a player growing like Daniel James has done over the last 18 months and hopefully will continue to do so, then it's also pretty pleasant situation for a manager, and this is what you like sometimes even more than just a win or another title or something like this. To help young people to develop, this is also a major topic for myself, and long may it continue also with Daniel.
A player transformed and the first name on the Farke team sheet week in, week out.
Finds himself in space at the back. From Dan James. From Dan James! He's miles out, but so is also the keeper.
Who knows what's next for Dan James? Will he lead Leeds back to the Premier League? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure. Dan James is Leeds.